Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're taking the forensic eDiscovery principles you already know and throwing them right into the fast-paced, highly optimized world of corporate IT. We're going to see exactly what happens when everyday enterprise search engines collide with the strict, uncompromising demands of the courtroom. Let's get into it. Here's our roadmap for today. We're going to define enterprise search, look at structured versus unstructured data, explore indexing and federated search, discuss relevance and context dependency, dive into what's known as the eDiscovery nightmare, and wrap it all up with a real-world investigation scenario. All right, kicking things off with Section 1, defining enterprise search. So what actually is enterprise search? Think of it as a lightning-fast, highly intelligent internal detective for a company. It's a software system that identifies, indexes, and retrieves specific information from an organization's massive, messy internal repositories. Imagine spending half your day just trying to track down one single document. Actually, studies show workers can run up to 8 searches just to find one correct file. Enterprise search steps in to solve this massive corporate data sprawl, drastically cutting down that search time. It's literally an absolute necessity for keeping a modern business running. Moving on to Section 2, let's talk about the data itself, structured versus unstructured data. To understand what this system is sifting through, we have to look at the Great Divide. On one hand, you have structured data. This stuff is neat and predictable. Think databases, tables, reports. But on the other hand, you have unstructured data, which is basically the digital equivalent of a massive corporate junk drawer. We're talking millions of emails, Word docs, instant messages, JPEGs, MP3s. Anything that is not neatly filed in a database, it's incredibly messy. But, as you all know from your eDiscovery training, this unstructured data is often exactly where the real smoking gun information is hiding. Let's crack open the hood in Section 3, indexing and federated search. If the system didn't have an index, it would literally have to open and read every single document every time you hit enter. That would take hours, right? Instead, it relies on a brilliant 3-step process. First up is collection, where it crawls and pulls in the data. Second, and this is the real magic trick, is indexing. It processes the text and creates a searchable structure before you even start typing your question. Finally, we have querying, where it runs your search against that pre-built index. By structuring the data ahead of time, it can fire back rapid, real-time responses. Now, federated search takes this whole concept and puts it on steroids. It lets a single query search across multiple, completely separate databases all at once. So imagine typing one keyword and instantly searching your email server, the corporate intranet, the HR database, and internal wikis, all without actually moving any of that data from its original home. The system just connects these disparate systems and fires back a unified, neatly ranked set of results. It is seriously fast. Which leads us perfectly into Section 4, relevance and context dependency. Let's play with a quick example. Think about the word Juno. If you wrote that into a standard web search, its relevance algorithms are based on global popularity, so you're almost certainly getting the 2007 indie movie right at the top. But an enterprise search, well, that is heavily dependent on organizational context. Its internal algorithms prioritize what matters to your specific job and your company's history. So searching Juno internally might instantly pull up the release date for an internal project called Project Juno, or it might pull up emails from your colleague named Juno. It's incredibly smart, but it's highly subjective and totally contextual. Okay, so here's the million-dollar question, and really the core friction of this entire explainer. If this enterprise system is so fast, so intelligent, and so incredibly good at finding relevant information across millions of messy documents, why on earth can't we just use it for court litigation? Well, we're going to answer that in Section 5, the eDiscovery nightmare. As it turns out, while enterprise search is a total game changer for daily office work, relying on it for legal compliance is incredibly dangerous. In fact, as the source material explicitly warns, it can be a literal nightmare for eDiscovery. It sounds harsh, but we really need to break down exactly why these two systems clash so badly. You see, enterprise search prioritizes finding a quick, highly relevant hit, right? But eDiscovery, as we know, demands absolute preservation and total completeness. This creates a real horror story for lawyers. First, enterprise search totally risks missing evidence on infrequent long-tail queries because it's only looking for the popular stuff. Second, because its results are context-dependent and personalized to the user, they aren't comprehensive and you absolutely cannot repeat them reliably in court. Third, and this is a big one, it lacks strict data preservation. It generally can't override the system's auto-deletes. That means crucial evidence could literally be deleting itself while you're busy searching for it. And finally, There is zero chain of custody or auditability to prove the data hasn't been tampered with. No way a judge accepts that.
Let's tie this all together in Section 6, the investigation scenario.
Picture this setup. A massive legal investigation suddenly hits your organization. Regulators are knocking at the door, and the clock is instantly ticking to find relevant corporate data. They urgently need every single internal communication regarding Project Juno. In those frantic first few hours, Enterprise Search is deployed. It steps in acting as our speedy detective, instantly locating the most recent, highly relevant Juno project files. This is actually great because it lets the legal team do a rapid initial review. They can assess how bad the situation is and quickly identify the key custodians, the people who actually own the data. As a first aid tool, it's fantastic. But then comes the mandatory handoff. You absolutely cannot take those quick search results into a courtroom. Dedicated eDiscovery processes must immediately take the wheel. The legal team has to issue official legal holds to freeze those auto-deletes, deploy specialized forensic collection tools to guarantee no obscure long-tail evidence slips through the cracks, and establish a bulletproof chain of custody for strict legal admissibility. So Enterprise Search points you in the right direction, but eDiscovery is what actually paves the road to the courtroom. So where does that leave us? How can organizations successfully balance the need for that blazing daily operational speed with the strict, uncompromising demands of legal risk? As future legal professionals, I want you to ask yourselves, if a crisis hit your organization today, would your data systems act as your sharpest detective or your absolute biggest liability? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.